So in a previous video I mentioned this lovely handsome chap from Warhammer Cursed City. I just think he's a wicked model. It's got lots going on with him, and I wanted to Necromunda-ify type, modify, customize type thing him. So I thought, what would he be great as? I'm thinking some kind of trader, because if you have pets in Necromunda, that's like a symbol of wealth. But there's possibly a bit too many pets going on. As you can see, I think it's a raven. A massive knife, look at that knife. Raven, rat, bat, and a wolf. So I'm thinking the wolf will look pretty cool, as would the rat. I think I'll get rid of the raven and the bat. The bat's pretty creepy, it's pretty nice, but I think there's possibly a bit too much going on. So I'm going to cut those off and make it look like they were never there. Obviously keeping the parts, because rule number 1, never chuck any parts away. And as cool as that is, and that could be quite grimdark, I'm thinking about lopping that hand off and giving him some kind of shooter. So a little bit of range. So he's got his stick, his pimp cane, and a knife there, and I want to give him some range. So nothing too crazy. I'm not talking like a missile launcher or anything like that. But I'm also thinking, as cool and grimdark that is a bit too corridor for me. So I'm going to cut that off, and I'm thinking about sticking it on a bit of plastic card and making a bounty board for my Necromunda. I thought that would be pretty cool, so I'm going to cut that off. And what's going to go on his back instead? Well, I've got a few little Necron pieces. I was thinking a nice bionic ridgy spine that looks quite creepy. Thought that'd be pretty nice. And if it's not quite the right curvature, I could always straighten it out a little bit. When it comes to the gun, well, I imagine this guy is some kind of trader, maybe a fixer or a merchant. Now I know the fixer is armed with mesh armor, and a bolt gun. I do have a bolt pistol even. I do have a few bolt pistols around, but I just thought from the Skitarii Rangers box, I think it was a Rangers box, this revolver with a bionic arm would look pretty cool. So stick that out on there. It will stick out just slightly more than it was before, but I just thought it looks kind of cool. Definitely a bit more grimdark with some bionics there, so a bit more futuristic than just holding a candle. Candles are fine, you do get them in the Underhive. Obviously Corridor are riddled with candles, so that's what I was going to do. I was going to swap his hand, and I was going to do that thing on his back and cut off the animals. So I'll do that. Do it off camera, because when I lose fingers, probably best not to see it. Okay, so obviously the pistol arm is stuck on there. The raven and the bat's cut off. That was stuck on the back, and I needed some green stuff to build up his cloak. So the cloak has got a hole in it where his spine sticks out. Obviously, because he would have a massive hunch. And it wouldn't look so cool. So I wasn't going to put the green stuff over the top, because I just thought he looked like some kind of stegosaurus. So there we go, a little bit of green stuff, working it in to his cloak. So that looks pretty good. I'm happy with that. The only thing is, if I am going to use it as a fixer, it is a 32 base. Yeah, that's a magnet. For my metal sheets. I'm going to carry my miniatures. Easier for transport, better than foam cases these days, because models are a little bit more spiky. But yeah, I was going to say, if he is a fixer in my gang, he is a slightly bigger base. But have a word with your arbiter, and I think he'll let you get away with it, because yeah, or you may be that tiny weeny bit closer to your enemy because your base is slightly bigger, but then they're also that little bit closer to you, so it works out evenly. The only difference is, obviously, bigger base, you could possibly get more enemy models around it. I don't think it's a problem, but obviously, if you're running a campaign, have a word with the person in charge. So yeah, very happy with this guy. Looks quite grimdark. I mean, of course, you could turn the wolf into a giant rat, maybe. Could be a beastmaster of some kind because he's got a rat on the top. You could turn that into a rat. Maybe the Gretchen handler, or Gretchen handler could have the top of his staff. Runt herder to herd the wild rats, maybe. That's a good idea. Yeah, just fancied something kind of fancy like that pistol, because I can imagine this guy's got something a bit fancy going on. Yeah, he looks like he's wearing naff robes, but look at how fancy that sword is. Yeah, there's a lot going on with that character. I just like all the characters pretty much from Curse City, and I think they would all be fantastic in Necromunda. Next on my hobby table, I am modifying, customising a Goliath ganger of mine. So I got a free ganger the other day in my game against Marcus. So we use settlement, Necromunda, you roll 2d6, and if either one is a 6, you get a Juve. If both of them are 6, you get a free ganger. And both me and Marcus, weirdly enough, lucky enough, just after our game, we both got a free ganger. So I already have 2 gangers for shotguns. I wanted to have another ganger that was completely different. So I decided to use this shotgun here from a Space Marine Scout sprue that I've got, because I don't like samey stuff. I like stuff to be converted and a little bit different. So I'll cut that off. And I do have lots of stub gunners. So I have, I think, about 6 stub gunners. So I'm going to modify this guy, remove his stub cannon even. If that was a pistol, that's pretty impressive. Even for Goliath standards, but no, I'm going to remove this cannon and put a shotgun on. Stage 1, cut this handsome little bugger's hands off with the gun, and then modify the positions so it's slightly closer together so they hold the shotgun. Now, it's always nice to paint the whole of the model, so if you wanted to paint behind the gun at this stage, it's always a good idea. I don't do that. I just struggle and wish I had, and try to squeeze the brush underneath. So stage 2 was to obviously put a slight slit there to bend the arm very slightly. Do the same with the arm, and I put a little bit of green stuff on the joints because it wasn't quite perfectly closed to meet the hand. One around the wrist to make the wrist a little bit thicker, because Goliath wrists, believe it or not, are slightly thicker than a Space Marine Scout's. And I drilled the barrels because I just think it looked meaner. I don't know what it is, maybe more realistic, but when you go into all that detail, when you have like all the veins pop in and like the plugs in his neck, it'd be weird if they were just smooth with a black dot on the end. So I thought this guy would be pretty good. So this guy is, I think, Burke. So my team so far, I have a Hicks, a Hudson, a Frost. Drake got killed. I mean, dead. He's no longer in the game. Newt didn't make it either. Made 1 game and got killed. Poor Newt. They come at night mostly. I've got Ripley, and I have an Apone as well as a Bishop. So yeah, not doing too bad. I do have a Hive Scum called Jones as well, named after the ship's cat, obviously. So you can see a theme going on there. Next on the list of conversions I've done recently for my Goliath gang, I had an old Chaos Marauder. So I cut the head off, put a trusty Goliath one on there with a little bit of green stuff. I don't know if it will focus. You can see the awful paint job still there, but I'm going to drop this in some paint stripper. I've given it the old classic Goliath arm with a stub gun. So this stub pistol is made out of a stub cannon, because I've got loads of stub cannons, and also I want to do a bit of a conversion job, because I'm hoping eventually this guy gets leveled up enough It's going to be an okay combatant. So I'm going to stick a scope on there, turn him into maybe a Dirty Harry looking guy. A little bit of a longer barrel possibly. But yeah, so I just cut the very end of the stub cannon off. And the extra sections of barrel, because he's got like 3 sections of barrel on the stub cannon. Remove the end 2, stuck the end back on. A bit of green stuff underneath. Drilled the barrel, made it a proper cannon hole as well. I don't know what caliber that is, but it's definitely a man stopper. It's about the size of his head. Kept the original knife on there because I just thought it looked kind of cool. Changed the position slightly. I've cut the cummerbund, or the wrestling belt, off of his stomach. Turn it back into a regular old belt. And I've green stuffed a 6-pack on there, if you can kind of see it in there. I might stick a little skull or something on there. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe the old classic, like a diamondy looking shape, like Goliaths have. But he's supposed to be a nobody. He's supposed to be just a Juve. So we'll see what he looks like when he's painted that. But yeah, like I said, I am going to strip the old terrible paint scheme off and then paint him up and see what it looks like. Like I said, if it looks a bit plain, I will stick something there. I just like the look of that. I think it looks kind of like gladiator-ish. So go for that. That's another recent conversion for my team. And next, as promised, SCRUNTS. So the idea is from Some City Radio. They do love me some hot scrunt action. So basically it's any Grot or Gretchen or Snotling and swap the head out. I just like this model and I think it would be great doubling up as a slopper for my gang. I found an old Gretchen model here. Thought it'd be pretty cool to have a stick grenade. Not entirely sure what he's doing. Don't know if he's doing a dance routine or he's just going to run at you with a stick grenade and set it off. He's a bit of a nutter. But there is more to come. So I've got loads of those guys and I've dropped them in a big bath full of paint stripper from way back when. I've got about 90 odd. I want to keep probably 60 for 40k. So I'll convert a few. For example, like this guy here. I've got 3 versions of this guy, or 3 exact copies of this guy. I say 1 grey, 1 red, 1 yellow, for whatever reason. Speed freaks, I guess. And I wanted that tiny section, so I cut that out and discarded this guy way back when. So, dogs are going mad in the background. So I will convert him somehow. Obviously cut the head off and put this Qatari Ranger head on. And do something about that. He needs a ranged weapon, really. I mean, as fun as that is, this guy needs a ranged weapon. So I will mess around with that. So that's what's on the hobby desk at the moment.